Welcome to the Third Eye Show, which brings you ancient wisdom as well as cutting-edge investigations into the mysteries of the universe. The Third Eye Show celebrates our diversity, like the unique beauty of each individual wave, and our oneness, like the magnificent ocean from which each wave emerges. We are all one in spirit as we live on this earth plane. The third eye is said to be able to see into the spiritual and psychic realms. At a time when our lives, our country, and our planet are undergoing intense transformations, we will explore topics that will fascinate, enlighten, and empower. Join us as we witness the thrilling ways spirit manifests in our daily lives and the varied paths we choose to create heaven here on our earth. The Third Eye Show is created and offered in love and light.
I do want to take this opportunity to thank all of the contributors, all of the generous people who have come on to make presentations, who have offered encouragement, support, their ideas, their visions, their poetry, their pictures, their paintings, their music, all of the generous souls who have supported our show throughout the years. We're just about to start our 4th year of production now. And I want to extend an invitation to all of those people out there who would like to share their music, their short videos, their poems, their vision. If you have something you want to say that you think will benefit the community and of course be in line with the Third Eye's intentions, which are to teach peace, celebrate diversity, foster creativity and positive exchange, and so on. If your piece is rated G and is absolutely your own, so that there are no copyright issues, we would love to hear from you. We'd also like to thank the people who've written into us over these first few years and have offered encouragement and support. We'd like to turn that support right back at you and say, listen, if you've got something, if you're a musician and you're aspiring, we reach millions of people. Contact us. If you have something that you want to say, you'd like to present, contact us. Again, we have the potential audience that really is vast. We're so excited about this in our own small way. What we're doing here on the Third Eye Show is helping to hold the light as humanity emerges into the higher consciousness of the age of Aquarius. That's what's happening. That's the bottom line. That's what the show is really all about. And we invite you to be a part of it. We want your participation. This show is wide open to your ideas and your input. Contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let me tell you what we've got for today's Third Eye Show. The first piece is an essay by Michael Neill, read by Michael Reed, and its title is On Loving People. Wonderful way to start the show. For the next piece we travel to Ireland and we interview Rosita Christiaanse, who is a Dutch psychic who moved to Ireland with her husband some years ago and reads angel cards. She invited us into her home, gave us tea, and chatted with us about the joys of being a reader in Ireland. After that, we come back here to the States for a follow-up to a piece we did a few months back called The Heart as Healer. Jane King, who is a local healer here in New Hampshire, and Shelby Richer, a nurse, discuss the heart as healer, or neurocardiology, an emerging science that really fuses science and spirit. It's fascinating. I hope you'll really enjoy that piece. And then we take a real short look at the idea of voting your conscience. What does that mean? Of course, it means different things to different people. What does it mean to you? And if we have time, we might even squeeze in a couple of surprises. So don't go anywhere. I think you're going to really enjoy today's Third Eye Show.
The following essay on loving people was contributed by Michael Neill, author of Feel Happy Now. To learn more, visit the Third Eye's website. It is not the threat of death, illness, hardship, or poverty that crushes the human spirit. It is the fear of being alone and unloved in the universe. Anthony Welsh. Yesterday afternoon, my son and I were pulling into the car park of our local basketball courts when we spotted a white car heading towards us at some speed. As the car grew closer, we could see that the driver's head was turned around, and despite some pretty impressive honking on my part, she didn't turn back to face us until after her car piled into the front end of ours. After checking that my son was all right, I pulled our car into a parking space and began to walk over to where the woman had stopped her car. On the way, I somehow had time to reflect on a practice I began about 5 years ago. At the time, I was training to be able to deliver a wonderful program called What One Person Can Do. The instructor told us that beyond understanding and practicing the basic content, the prerequisite for delivering the program was simple. All we needed to be able to do was to love every human being on the planet, regardless of what mood we were in, what our day had been like, or what that person was up to, or had been up to, in the world. When I asked for clarification about what exactly constituted loving someone, he said, "Simply treat each person that you come across as if they were a loved and appreciated member of your family." To make matters worse, to my way of thinking at that time, he actually wanted us to be willing to tell people that we loved them, even if they didn't have the same last name as us or we hadn't spent a lot of time with them. The obstacles and objections to engaging in this process came into my mind so quickly that it took me a while to get from a general feeling of bleh to the specific thoughts that I could either accept or reject about what loving people and expressing that love might mean. When the dust had settled, here were the key ideas before my mind. Number 1, if you can love everybody, doesn't that make the love you have for your partner or your children less special? When I first began exploring this one, it seemed to stand up. After all, if loving someone was just a choice, what difference would it make if I was with my wife and kids or someone else's? However, once I began consulting my experience instead of my thinking, it became obvious that the reason I was with my family as opposed to someone else's wasn't just because I loved them, but it was because I enjoyed their company and wanted to share my life with them. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to spend all your time with them. It's just a choice about how you want to be with them while you're with them. Number 2, won't it make people uncomfortable if I tell them that I love them when I don't really know them? This thought really hooked me in, and I convinced myself for a time that it wasn't a kind thing to do, and therefore was inconsistent with the aim of treating all people with loving kindness. After a time, I realized that far from being nobly motivated, the person whose discomfort I was most concerned with was actually my own. I decided to put this to the test in a business course I was leading in the UK. Towards the end of the second day, I went up to each of the delegates in the program and one by one looked into their eyes, found a loving feeling inside my heart for them, and told them that I loved them. They were, on the whole, horrified, or so I thought. Yet over the next few weeks and months, I heard from nearly every one of them how touched they had been when they got that I meant it, or the difference it made in their lives when they turned around and told someone in their life that they loved them. One man on the course, who had expressed his discomfort and displeasure in no uncertain terms on the feedback forms, emailed me almost a year later to share how that incident and some of the other ideas and techniques we had explored in the course had led to a complete transformation in the way he lived his life and ran his business. Does this mean telling people you love them and meaning it will always lead to a positive life change? I have no way of knowing, but it has happened so many times for myself, my students, and clients that I would call it a pretty good bet with an extremely limited downside. Number 3. What about Bin Laden? You want me to love Bin Laden? I addressed this one in Feel Happy Now, like this. Asking ourselves to love Bin Laden, Hitler, or any other world leader who espouses hatred, particularly hatred of those things we hold dear, is equivalent to asking a novice pianist to play a Rachmaninoff concerto, blindfolded, with one hand. You learn to play the piano by practicing scales, and you learn to choose love by practicing compassionate understanding, by recognizing the us in them and the them in us. The first time I really understood this was when I heard the story of Marge Canuti, a nurse and teacher who decided to volunteer to work in Mother Teresa's home for the dying in Calcutta. After many, many hours spent on old train tracks and bumpy roads in the heat of the Indian summer, she arrived exhausted, wanting nothing more than to jump into a cold shower and collapse into a cool bed. Instead, she was greeted by the scene of dozens of people queuing up outside in the hope of being given the right to die with dignity and compassion. Her tiredness fell away, and she reached out to a man whose legs had been crushed in the street and whose life was clearly ebbing away. As she looked into his eyes, brimming with love and compassion, he repeatedly said to her the word Namaste. Many hours later, she asked one of the other volunteers what the word Namaste meant. She was told it was a Sanskrit word meaning, I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the place in you of love, of truth, of peace, and of light. And when you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, there is only one of us. By the time I reached the woman's car to get her insurance details, I was back in a place of loving kindness. I could see her innocence, even as my brain raged against her poor driving habits and my body shivered in shock. We exchanged details, wished each other a Merry Christmas, and went on our way. My willingness to love this stranger, in the midst of a circumstance I would never have chosen, may not have earth-shattering consequences. She may never remember the incident as anything more than a bizarre interlude in the midst of an increasingly busy life. There was also nothing saintly about my response. It cost me nothing to handle it from that place in me, and I duly filed my claim with her insurance company an hour or so later. But I do know that it didn't contribute to the unwellness and unrest that can poison us from the inside, even when we aim our upset and unhappiness at the world around us. In other words, it didn't hurt, and it may have helped. And for that opportunity and possibility, I am truly grateful.
You're watching The Third Eye Show.
Would you tell our audience why you choose to read angel cards?
I love working with cards, and I tried tarot cards. You are very familiar with the tarot cards. Angel cards simply have a different connection to them. Tarot cards are over 2,000 years old. The angel cards, I think, especially in recent years, about 10 years old. So there's a totally different energy connected to the angel cards. I love working with the angels, and the cards are simply a direct way to communicate with the angels, especially when you do readings for other people. It's a perfect way for me to work with the angels. To me, a card is simply a key that unlocks information that's hidden behind the card. I've been working with cards for over 20 years now, and I was already interested in things like that when I was about 12 years old. And at a certain point, my dad even told me, stop reading books like that because I was too young. So I started to pick it up around 19, 20 years, and that's when I got my first deck from my sister. And I have been working with cards ever since, but more on a playful level, you know. You do some reading for friends and family. But a friend of mine, she always said, okay girl, you have to do something with cards because that really connects with you. And I think now for about 5 years I'm working with them on a professional level. And I love every single minute of it. It's a beautiful way of working with the angels and with higher energies.
No, it is indeed. Yeah. It is indeed. How often do you suggest that people come for readings?
Well, I always prefer when people come for a reading that for the next reading there's at least a gap of 3 months. I prefer to have even 6 months if that's possible, because you know, when the angels give you information, you need to work with that information. You need to connect with that information deep within yourself. And you're not going to do that within a week. You're not going to find the answers, or you're not going to find a certain balance within a week. So you have to give it some time. And I think when people want to see me every week, to me, and that's personal, to me that indicates that they don't want to take responsibility for their own lives. They want me or the angels or some higher energy to make the decisions for them. And that's not going to happen. That's why I do not do readings once a week for people, or even once a month, at least 3 months behind the first and the second one. I think it's very important for people to take responsibility for their own life, and they shouldn't be afraid to do so, because the guidance is there anyway. Whether you go for a card reading every week or you go every, well, say once a year, the guidance is going to be there anyway. You simply have to trust that it is.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this, Rosita. You are obviously not originally Irish.
You knew.
Our viewers may have noticed this. You are originally from Holland.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And can you tell us why you and your husband decided to move to Ireland and to this part of Ireland in particular?
First of all, the reason why we moved away from Holland is that Holland is a very small country, as you probably know, and we have over 16 million people living in it. And I strongly believe that if you live with a lot of people in small areas, that creates aggression. That's also the reason why I think in big cities there's more aggression than there is in the country. And we have checked out several countries. We've been to Hungary, we've been to France, we've been to Portugal. And one of the countries we visited was Ireland. And we fell in love with it at first sight. So that is why we decided to check our options. It's not a decision that you make from one day to the next, but we decided to check our options here in Ireland. And here we are, 7 years later, still loving it.
And is there a special magic to this particular part of Ireland, the southwest?
I think there is. But then again, that might very well be personal, because I do love it here. I really honestly do love it here. But to me, you came from Kenmare this morning.
Yes.
Yes, and once you drive onto the Dingle Peninsula, it always feels to me that the whole energy of the island is changing. It's like there's an invisible barrier that you drive through and you think, oh wow, this is nice here. It has really a different feel connected to it. And I think what also helps with that is the fact that Dingle has a lot of spiritual people here. We have a lot of Reiki masters, people who work on a spiritual level, who do spiritual art, all those things. So I think that creates a certain energy on the island anyway. And yeah, again, it's a peninsula, means that it's surrounded by water, and as you probably know, water is very cleansing, so it absorbs a lot of negative energy. And I think that's one of the reasons that coastal areas in general always feel very good.
I agree. Especially salt water, I think,
Yes.
You know, the salt is cleansing. It's used for house cleansings and
Yeah.
that type of thing for a reason, because it does have special properties.
Yes, that's what I believe as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the ocean is very purifying. And people can see that, they can notice that within themselves, because if you are down or if you're tired or if you're having a bad day or even a bad week, go for a walk along the beach. And after an hour, you feel like a totally different person. Your energy levels are up, you're not as depressed or negative as you were before. So yeah, definitely salt water is very good for you.
Yeah, I agree. And how have you been received here in the Dingle area, shall we say?
Well, we've been living here for 2 years now, and in the Dingle area. And before that, we live here for 7 years in total. And I think the Irish in general are very open towards other people. And it doesn't really matter if you work on a spiritual level or if you work in a factory or whatever. They don't make much difference between that. But this area particularly has a lot of people, again, working on a spiritual level. And instead of a competition, there's a very welcoming feeling to it. It doesn't matter that there are already loads of other people doing the same as you do. No, it's more like the more the better. So that's a very good feeling here.
It's interesting that you say the more the better, because Mike and I have been coming to Ireland for 20 odd years, and we very seldom see readings of any kind offered publicly in Ireland.
Okay, yeah, well...
What's that about? And is that changing?
It is changing, because if you compare it to a couple of years ago, the whole attitude of people is changing. It normally, the church was of great influence here in Ireland, and that is waning a bit. So people are looking for a replacement. They still believe, but they don't, the church is not number one anymore for so many people. So they're looking for other things. And it was just recently that one of my clients said, "You're so brave." And I said, "What do you mean with brave?" And she says, "Well, I had a sign outside which says, okay, I'm an angel energy worker and I'm a Reiki master." And she says that you have that outside on your fence. And I never gave it a second thought. It was so completely natural to me, because that's what I do. And I'm a strong believer in the fact, if I don't expect any negativity, I'm not getting any negativity. So some people laughed a bit, but they were always very open and very friendly and very curious. And I think curious is a good thing, because then they start asking questions and you can get a conversation going. So you can give them information and maybe change the way they look at life. So yeah.
That's yeah, I think you're right on. So do you find that there are few readers in this area, or do you know other readers here? I mean, are they here and they're just not maybe advertising?
Well, I don't know of any other readers in this particular area. I've heard outside of Kerry, and I think about half an hour away from here at Inch, beach of Inch there was, as far as I know, there probably is one other card reader, but card readers are not, no. Reiki, people who give Reiki and things like that, yeah, there's loads of them. But card reading is of course really very specific, and a lot of people have the feeling that they don't know how to do it. So I think that's why there are not so many card readers here in this area.
Have you ever thought about teaching people? Has anyone expressed an interest in learning this?
Well, to be totally honest, I do give workshops for people how to do angel card readings.
You do? So then there's
Yeah.
information on your website.
That's information, yeah, that's available on my website, because a lot of people, they love the angel cards. They love the sight of them, they love the pictures, the colors. They love the cards, and they work with them. They pick a card for themselves every once in a while, but that's as far as they go. And the cards have so much more to offer than just that. But what they need is someone who helps them find their way of communicating with the angels through the cards, because that's what it is. You don't communicate with the cards, you communicate through the cards with the angels. And for some people it is with the words that are written on the cards, for other people it's the colors, for other people the pictures, and for other people the emotions that the cards they give them emotion. So what I do during a workshop is work with people and find for each of them their own individual way of working with the cards. So open their communication channel with the angels, because that's basically what you do with cards. Opening a communication channel with angels and other higher energies. And what I do when I start my workshop, I always, when I have about 5-6 people, because I don't want the group too big, because that means you cannot give everybody the attention they need. I always ask them to start with one card just for me. It always happens that the people always pick the same cards. So either with the same theme on it, or even when they have the same deck, it happens that they really actually pick the same cards. And I always tell them, that's the angel's way of letting you know that it really is happening and that you can do it as well. And it's lovely to see them come in the morning, and then at the end of the day they leave and with a smile on their face and with a new confidence, and that is so great to see. That is so beautiful.
That's wonderful. So you help people to really understand that what you're doing is spirit communication.
That's basically what you do,
That's
communication
really
with energies.
And using the cards just as a vehicle or as a mechanism, a tool.
Yes. Yeah, and I absolutely believe in the fact that everybody can do it. It's not a special thing that's only there for a couple of special people. No, I think everybody is special, and I think we all know how to work with the cards. And not just with cards, we all know how to communicate with higher energies. And you simply have to learn to understand how. But it's not a special gift, it's something everybody can learn.
I absolutely agree, absolutely. And I think the viewers of this show probably all know that.
Yeah,
because it's something that we talk about. We definitely do talk about that. What do you think the future is for psychic readers in Ireland? Because as you said, there are still few psychic readers here, that, to your knowledge. Do you see a trend developing, or what do you think?
Well, I think that's a difficult question, because I believe that this kind of development starts more or less on a personal level, and I think it's only for a few that really have the confidence, and I'm not saying the knowledge, but the confidence to do it on a professional basis. Still, a lot of people are afraid of what their friends and family might think, so it's nice to do it for yourself and a friend at home, but it's a completely different thing to put your name out there, put it in the papers and on notice boards, and say, okay, I am a card reader and I can read cards. That's two different things. So I don't know, it depends on how much confidence people will build up in time. So in time it will grow steadily. But I don't know how long that's going to take, because yeah, Ireland is still detaching itself from religion very slowly. And not that religion is a bad thing, but religion and card readings are two totally different things for people. And the church is really still a great part of people's lives. So I think that's difficult. That's going to be very difficult here in Ireland. But they will get there, because there's a lot of interest in learning how to do it.
Well, I think that humanity's consciousness is naturally raising. I think that the vibration of the planet is raising. It's one of the things that the Third Eye Show is all about, is bringing information to people as this process develops. And so I think naturally that this is going to be a natural outcome of that people are going to be more interested in exploring alternatives, whatever they may be.
Exactly.
And this isn't right for everyone.
No, it's not right for everyone. No, I totally agree with that. But that's with everything in life.
Right.
What's good for you doesn't necessarily mean it's good for me or that I like it. So yeah, it's
Right.
personal.
Right, celebrate diversity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the Third Eye Show, Rosita. We appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome, and I really enjoyed having you here.
Oh, thank you.
You're watching The Third Eye Show.
Welcome to Heart is Healer Part 2. We're here to move forward from where we left off before, talking about Heart is Healer, with a review of the human energy system, basically focused on the heart chakra. As you can see, this is where the heart is in your body, and this is the energy center, the heart chakra, heart energy center, metabolizing energy into your own human heart, your beautiful heart here in your body. So everyone has an energy center in their heart like this, and as you can see, as a review, there are 7 energy centers on the body and all different colors on the second level of the energy field. So that's the first quick review where we left off in the initial Heart is Healer Part 1. And now we're going to move forward and do a little more work, or play rather, on the heart as a loving organ, as a physical organ, and as an emotional organ. So, Shelby, would you like to review the anatomy and physiology of the heart?
Thanks, Jane. The heart is a fist-sized organ right about here in your body. It receives messages from the cardiac center in the medulla oblongata in the lower back of your head where your brain is, and travels down the vagus nerve center to the fibers of the heart. There are 4 chambers. The top 2 are the atria, and the bottom 2 being the ventricles. Deoxygenated blood comes in through here from the body and through here, travels down through the valves that are here. We won't go into great detail. From this bottom right ventricle, it goes into your lungs, gathers a bunch of oxygen, comes back through into the other atria, all full of oxygen, travels down into that ventricle where it's pumped up and out through to your entire body, well oxygenated and ready to keep you alive and healthy. The heart also has an electrical system that runs pretty much independently. It does have help from the brain with your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, which you may remember. If you get nervous, one will kick in and accelerate your heart rate. When you relax, the other will kick in and decelerate. The pacemaker for your heart is right here in that top right atrium, and that's the sinoatrial node. That's the big pacemaker for your heart. He's the guy that regulates how fast or slow it's going to go. Well, he travels down here to the next guy that's right between the 2 atria and about where the ventricles are going to start, and tells him what to do. Well, he tells this bundle of nerve fibers here, the bundle of His, what to do, and then they tell all their little people and friends that run out to the side and start from here to continue doing it, which causes a contraction that starts at the bottom and works up, so you get one big push, twisting push out to your body. If your top guy kicks out, then the other guy's always willing to step in. Things are just a little slower. And these responses hopefully will help you understand what Jane's going to tell us next.
Right, about some of the activities that we as people with human hearts in our own bodies, as we all have a heart in our body, can begin to become aware of your own heart. And one of the first things you can do, what I'd like you to focus on right now, you're always focusing on yourself, so I'd like you to focus on yourself right now. during this program. I guess I didn't say that in the beginning, but that's the best thing for you to do right now. Focus on your own heart as you learn, as you connect in with different parts of the heart and different things that we talk about. Always come home to your heart by maybe checking in with your heartbeat. One way you can do this is to put your fingers on your jugular vein. On either side of your neck, you can either use your left 2 fingers or your right 2 fingers, or some people use, if you're trained as a nurse, you could use your pulse on your wrist, whichever is easiest for you to feel. But kind of check in with where's your heart rate right now. And one way to, I'll let Shelby explain in a minute the exact way to get your pulse rate, but that's one way to check in with your heart right now. Another way is, what are you feeling right now? What are the feelings? What emotions are you feeling? How was your day today? How are things going in your life in general? This opportunity you have right now is to maybe check in with that and shift it. And by the time we're done today, hopefully you'll have some nice techniques to take with you to shift the way you're feeling and to move forward in life and be able to use these tools in your daily activity and shift within a situation, hopefully, that you may be having that may be not so enjoyable. So that's where we're going with this. So as you check in with your heart, I'd like you to think about a time in your life that was very, very joyful, a time that you had a wonderful, wonderful experience. It might be or a thing or something in your life, or a person or your baby or a child, something that makes you feel really, really, really good. Your heart, joy, feeling love. And many times we don't even realize what love feels like, but letting yourself have whatever those feelings are. Some people women may experience or remind themselves of the birth of their first child or the birth of one of their children. Just that experience of placing your child on your chest for the first time. Oh, I mean, I don't have any children, but I can imagine that feeling. So if you've had that experience, that's one of the feelings that you can then relate to and bring into your heart right now. Or if that's not one, if you haven't had children, you could think of another great experience of, for me, it's a time when I have accomplished something that I couldn't believe that I could accomplish, and I feel wonderful. I just feel, wow, I could conquer the world. So just bringing whatever that feeling is into your own heart and letting your heart feel it and have that experience. So on a daily basis, well, in this moment right now, but then moving forward on a daily basis, every day, perhaps in the morning, perhaps at lunchtime, or sometime during the day, if you can take a moment, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it takes, to just bring that feeling up into your heart, you're nurturing your heart, and you're telling your heart, oh, I love that feeling, and I want you to feel that more often. And by bringing those feelings into your heart, then you're empowering your heart to be more powerful, or maybe more in control, or more there when your brain, when your thought process kicks in and wants to overpower you. So that's the first step that I would like you to begin with right now.
I'm sure all of you are familiar with getting into a situation or being scared when all of a sudden you clench up, you get a little lightheaded, your heart's pounding, you're really scared, like I was right before we started the show today. And there's receptors in your heart that react with your brain, and they literally speak back and forth and create this feeling. By using what Jane says and thinking of something good and focusing away from that fight or flight feeling you're getting, your veins dilate, your heart rate slows down, they communicate, and all is well again. It kind of just puts the brakes on and is very helpful.
Right, and so what you're doing is you're relaxing your system. You're teaching your system to be relaxed. Your connection between your heart and your brain are learning to relax rather than being in that type A personality situation of always uptight, always ready to fight, ready to flee, or whatever the stress response is. So you're kind of training that connection between heart and brain to be more soft, to be more connected into the slowing down process.
Exactly.
Right.
I work as a patient care technician right now on a cardiac floor. I've been there for about 10 and a half years. Certain surgeons have relaxation tapes that they want their patients to listen to before surgery, because they've found if they're more at ease, if they're relaxed before their surgery goes better, they heal more quickly, and suffer less depression after heart surgery.
Great.
Because the heart is a feeling organ as well as a working organ, and it's really important that it feels good about itself before you do anything with it.
Great. So self-love is the key to full health. In all you do, self-love really is what it's all about. And so I can give you another technique that might help you in that, and that is, it's called heart hug. And it was developed by Linda Tellington Jones. It's called a T-touch. And you do this by taking your hand and placing the palm of your hand on your heart. And actually you do this with two hands and place the other hand over it. And you apply enough pressure on your heart so that you're moving the skin. And you go in a clockwise circle, and you start at 6 o'clock. You imagine that there's a clock on your chest, and you start at 6 o'clock, you go around past 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then you stop, and then you do it again. And you're moving the skin, and then you're having the intention of caring for yourself. And you might breathe into it and breathe out of it. And so it's called a heart hug, a Tellington Touch heart hug. And see how that feels. So this is one small thing you can do for yourself. Give yourself a hug every day. How does that feel?
That feels good.
Great.
We'll have to have some of the patients we work with give themselves a hug.
Right. Well, that's something you can do anywhere, anytime. And another exercise you can do is what I call experience, witness, or ask. And that's when we go back in time, or take something that happened during the day that you were not happy with, and take that experience, bring it back into your life when you go home in a safe place, or in a place where you can be alone, and re-experience that, whatever it was that happened, and then witness what happened in your body where you can be safe and be breathing. And you may give yourself a heart hug and bring yourself and open your heart up the way we did earlier before you do this. So open your heart up and re-experience that whatever went on, and then witness it, be with it in an honest way, to just sort of pull yourself away from it and witness it within yourself, whatever that experience was, and then ask, what's here now? What's here in this moment while you're re-experiencing that relationship problem might have happened between co-workers, or a spouse thing that might have happened. So you're just bringing yourself to that experience, and then asking yourself, what's here now? What's here now? And you should have a little aha. Oh, that's what I was doing. Oh, I was holding back this, or I was tense, or it reminded me of an experience I had as a child that was not good, that really brought me to this place that wasn't happy. So now you've kind of come to a place of realizing what brought you to that experience, and why, in a way now of maybe next time when that occurs, or next time that relationship issue comes up, maybe you can react differently because you've now witnessed it and experienced it and realized, oh, that's tied into a past situation that I now can heal by just bringing it out to the light, by just expressing or just understanding it now in a different way. Once you have that technique, experience, witness, and ask, what's here now, what's here now? You might make that a habit. What's here now, what's here now? And breathe. One other thing that is really important, which we know with the heart, right around here also, is the lungs, and the whole connection between the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. And breathing is really important anytime you're doing any of these self-help or any of these exercises to open your heart and to heal yourself, and to heal yourself, whether from surgery or from any illness or just in your relationships. Always breathe. Always think about, where's your breath? Are you holding it? Are you holding like this so you can't talk? Or are you, okay, I'm breathing better. Okay, open your chest, breathe deep, and allow your heart and your lungs to have that wonderful, intimate connection between themselves, which is what it's all about. So, in final note, one more little practice that you can do is called attitudinal breathing, and this comes from HeartMath Institute. You can go online at heartmath.com. And this is, I believe that I mentioned this the last time too, and that is breathing in through your heart and out through your solar plexus. So you're breathing in through your heart and out through where the V is in your rib cage, right down below your heart. So breathing in a positive word in and a positive word out. So a positive word might be love in and compassion out. Or what else?
Gratitude in.
Gratitude in.
And caring out.
Caring out. There's two. So just sit and breathe like that for a minute or two. And it can really pick you up if you're having a bad day, if you're depressed, if you're stressed, if you have some things going on that you are not happy about. That attitudinal breathing, just breathing in a positive word and breathing out, is a nice, easy thing to do. So thank you, Shelby, for
Thank
all
you,
the
Jane. I love
information.
your positive attitude that you put on everything.
Well, thank you. And I love all the other information you've given us about the heart
Well,
that I
thank
didn't
you.
know.
politics, that subject is very much on the minds of the people here in New Hampshire in particular, obviously all over the country, and will be this whole year of 2008. But very much so here in the minds of the people of New Hampshire. And we get to see these candidates, like it or not, they're all over the place. So we get to see them up close and personal. And it's definitely a topic of conversation. You know, what are you going to do with your vote? Who are you going to vote for? And are you going to vote your conscience? And dare you vote your conscience? Maybe I should vote for the lesser of two evils. Or, gee, I'm not sure. Maybe I should vote for this one so that that one doesn't get elected, because that one's really bad. So that's what I'd like to talk about briefly, because it's very much on my mind. And I'm guessing it's probably on your mind too. What are you going to do with that vote? It's a really important responsibility, and how are you going to exercise it? What are you going to do with it? Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, talking about it with people, and it seems like voting your conscience can mean a lot of different things. For some people, when they say that they're going to vote their conscience, what they mean is they're going to vote for the person they believe is the best person for the job. And that seems like a reasonable assumption. But what if that person does not get the nomination, or that person is not on the ballot? Then what do you do? Well, do you write that person in? Do you have a responsibility to do that? Or not? Or should you vote for the lesser of two evils? I think that's an interesting phrase. I mean, think about that, the lesser of two evils. That's assuming that they're both evil. And we're going to vote for the one that's the lesser of the two. Like, both choices are bad, but we're going to vote for one that's the least bad. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Have you thought about that? I mean, is that just a phrase? You don't really mean evil. You just mean the one that's better? Or do you really think they're both bad? In which case, maybe you should vote, you should write somebody in, or you should vote for the one you really believe in. Or maybe there is nobody you really believe in which case, then what do you do? If you think they all stink, well, then who do you vote for? Maybe you should vote for the one you think stinks the least, and I guess that's the lesser of the two evils, right? Maybe what we should do with this vote, which is really important, is to vote for the person we think can win. The one that we think will defeat the one that's really egregious. I'll be honest with you, I've gone both ways. There have been times I have written in the candidate I really believed in, when there was one I really believed in, even though I kind of figured that person is not going to get elected, and the people I vote for generally don't get elected. And there have been times where I have voted for the person I thought was the quote-unquote lesser of the two evils, because I thought that the other person was just so bad. I really didn't want that person to get in. I think in general, it's best for us, for me anyway, not to make decisions from a place of fear. I mean, in general, life decisions. I think the better decisions are made when they're not based on fear. And so applying that to voting, that's what I've decided to do, personally. I'm not going to vote from a place of fear. I'm not going to allow fear to dictate my vote. So that's a thought that I have, and that might be something for you to think about. You know, if you're thinking, if you say to yourself, I'm going to vote for X because I'm afraid of Y. I don't know. I mean, I kind of got caught on that. I heard myself say that and got kind of caught there and said, what did I just say? You know, because I'm afraid of something. I don't know if that's really the way I want to vote. So, and then there's the question of throwing your vote away. Well, what if you vote for X and you're throwing your vote away because that person's not electable? Well, I'd like to submit that that person is electable if enough people vote for that person. And I'd also like to suggest to you that I think personally that the only vote that's thrown away is the one that somebody doesn't bother to go out and cast. I think if each one of us votes our conscience, whether that is voting for the lesser of two evils, voting for one person to deny the other person the office, or voting for someone you really believe in. I think that each one of us has a responsibility to go out and vote. So please vote for somebody. And if you have any thoughts on this, if you could help to clarify this for me and for the other viewers of the show, I'd really appreciate that. So write to us. What are you thinking? What do you think about this whole issue? How does it sound to you? How does it feel to you? What do you think is right? We'd really love to hear from you. Thanks, and vote!